At times complex sentences, but these tend to be less accurate than simple sentences. Band 5. That's probably not what you'd like to hear about your essay, right? One critical criterion for your writing is the correct use of complex sentences throughout the essay. However, that doesn't mean they need to be very long or overcomplicated. There should be a good balance between complexity, clarity, and accuracy. And how can you achieve that? Let me show you. It's Asia. Let's get started. If you're aiming for a Band 7 plus, which I believe most of you do, you need to meet this requirement. Band 7 uses a variety of complex structures. When we go higher than Band 7, it just uses a wide range of structures for both Bands 8 and 9, although with Band 9 it adds with full flexibility and accuracy. Please note, it doesn't say that simple sentences should not be used at all. So, which grammatical structures do we need to use, and how can we be sure that our complex sentences are accurate? The best way for us to find out is to have a look at a Task 2 topic and write some complex sentences. Here is my topic. Some people think that history has little or nothing to tell us, while others believe that studying the past can help us better understand the present. Discuss both these views and give your opinion. I think it can help us a lot if you understand what exactly a complex structure in IELTS writing is. Basically, all we're really doing is counting the number of what they call finite verbs. A finite verb is one that has a subject and a tense. A simple sentence has only one finite verb. It's called. I've been living in London for 10 years. Have been living is just one finite verb to live in the present perfect continuous tense. A complex sentence has two or maybe more finite verbs or subject-verb combinations. Each of these parts is called a clause in grammar. Take a look at this example. How many clauses can we see here? Count the number of finite verbs. Those who believe that studying history is of little or no benefit often claim that history tends to repeat itself because humanity keeps on making the same mistakes. So, how many did you get? I can see who believe history is, those claim history tends to, and humanity keeps on. 5 finite verbs or clauses. This is a highly complex sentence from the grammatical point of view. All you need to make your sentence complex is 2 clauses. It's also vital that each sentence you write is meaningful and appropriate. And you need to make connections between and within sentences. Here is how I could present the counter-argument in the following paragraph. I'm doing it with 2 sentences, both complex. It could be argued, however, that such mistakes are not inevitable. The first sentence has just 2 clauses with a connector, however, emphasizing the contrast with the previous sentence. Notice also the passive structure. It could be argued. A good structure to use in a Task 2 essay. It's a formal academic style. The next sentence reminds us how important it is to use relevant examples from your knowledge or experience. For example, the periodic economic crisis suffered by many countries could have been avoided if governments had paid more attention to and learned from past errors. Every time you write a conditional sentence with if, make sure the verb forms are accurate. Here, something could have been avoided if governments had paid more attention. We're talking about the past we can't change. Conditional type 3. Again, a highly complex structure. You don't have to use it to get a Band 7, but you should use the passive voice and conditionals generally. And if you're looking for more practice with structured, in-depth instructions on each aspect of your writing, you might want to check out my courses linked in the description box below. Our complex sentences must be linked together in meaningful ways. Let's look at that in more detail. The nature of the complex sentences you write will depend not only on your ideas, but also on your point of view. So let's look at a few complex sentences that show how to link ideas together. I've divided these into groups according to their intention. The first is a conditional sentence. We looked at a conditional sentence just now. Here are two more examples. The first is more direct. If we study how society handled crises in the past, we will or can be better prepared to make decisions on current issues. We use the present simple in the if part. If we study, not the future simple with will. It's very important. In the next sentence, the verb in the if part is in the past. And then there are several modal verbs in the other part of the sentence. If we studied how societies dealt with crises in the past, we would or could be better prepared to make decisions on current issues. What's the difference? The second sentence is much more hypothetical than the first. Let's talk about contrasts. Here is my example. Although governments and economists have studied the causes of previous financial crises, they have not always made the right decisions themselves to prevent them from reoccurring. Here we see one of the most common types of complex sentences, which shows a contrast or a difference between two ideas. We can start the sentence with although or alternatively even though. Notice that these connectors are part of what we call a dependent clause. A dependent clause doesn't make sense by itself. Although governments have studied the causes of previous crises, we read it and we say, well, tell me more. Finish the sentence. So we need to complete the sentence with another clause, which we call the independent clause, which makes sense by itself. I want you to understand this so you could get the next type of sentences right. These are sentences with however and nevertheless. These words are grammatically different to although and even though. We usually put them at the beginning of the independent clause. Notice the punctuation. Governments have studied the causes of previous financial crises, semicolon. However, comma, they have not always made the right decisions themselves. Punctuation is important. Use a semicolon before and a comma after. If you prefer, you can put a full stop instead of a semicolon. Another interesting way to show the difference in a complex sentence is to use despite or in spite of. Both come at the start of the dependent clause, but be careful with the grammar. Why? Because we never use a subject verb after these connectors. We use a gerund. Look at this example. Despite studying the causes of the previous crisis, I can't say despite they studied the causes. And the rest of the sentence is the same. Cause or consequence. We often need to explain or justify something when we're right. Here is one way to do it. Because scientists had studied the historical data on previous epidemics, they were able to find a solution quickly. So first, we mentioned the cause, followed by the result or consequence. We can also use since or as. Since the research team had studied the historical background to the case, they were able to make a quick decision. We can also put the result first, followed by the explanation. A solution to the problem was found because scientists had studied and made use of historical data. The simplest way is to use because. Alternatives again are since and as. Coordination. We usually think of a coordinated sentence when we use and or but. Have a look at this sentence. History can help us understand the present and plan the future. We have two independent clauses with the same subject, history. And after and, we're adding more information. Another way to do this is to end the sentence with the first idea and then begin a new sentence with words like moreover or furthermore, or maybe a phrase in addition. History can help us understand the present, full stop. Furthermore, it can also help us plan for the future. Another advanced way to do this is using the complex structure not only but also. Look at these examples. Notice very carefully what form the verb has in the first part. Not only does history help us understand the present, but it can also be the basis for making projections into the future. Not only did the crisis hit poor families, but it also affected the more affluent. Do you see it? The question forms. Not only does history help, not only did the crisis hit. A sentence using this structure will certainly impress the examiner, but study the form it takes to get it right. Where it all goes wrong. Look at this example. If you hear it, it sounds fine, but the punctuation is wrong. It's just one very long sentence. How about we change it into 4 sentences, each one complex but not over complex? Please pause the video to look at them in more detail. This is so much better for your score. We've seen that a complex sentence consists of 2 or more clauses which combine in grammatical and meaningful ways. The most direct way to Band 7 score is writing sentences with 2 or 3 clauses. They're complex enough. Don't overcomplicate things. So today we've looked at one of the important criteria examiners look out for. To find out what the other key differences between Band 6 and Band 7 essays are, watch this video. And thank you so much for watching me today. Good luck with your preparation and your exam.